Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be going over the best free or off the street cars in Grand Theft Auto Online. Since the last time I made one of these videos, they've made a lot of these cars impossible to actually get through the websites, so you have to get them off of the street now, but I think that gives an even better reason to make this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with number 10. The first car that I've selected for this list is the Shyster Fusillade. Now the Shyster Fusillade is a car that is pretty underrated in GTA, honestly. A lot of people would see this thing on the street and not think it would have any sort of customization or anything that you could actually do to it, but in fact that's not the case. The Shyster Fusillade actually has quite a bit of customization, and once you fully upgrade it, it's actually a decently fast car. It's definitely an underrated one, and I think that you can actually make this thing look pretty good. I have to say, I am pretty impressed with the Shyster Fusillade. I definitely think this is one you guys should look into if you're looking for something cheaper and you're looking for something that you're never going to see another player in all of online driving unless they steal a stock one off of the street. That's it for the Fusillade at number 10. On to number 9. At number 9, we have the Bravado Gresly. Bravado Gresly is based off the Dodge Durango in real life, the newest edition of it. However, unfortunately, this is as close as I think we're ever going to get to being able to have a Durango Hellcat in GTA Online, and unfortunately the Gresly is not quite that fast, but it is a pretty good looking vehicle, and it does actually have some modifications that you could do to it, which I think make the vehicle a little bit more interesting and definitely more so worth owning. It is of course a 4-seater, it is all-wheel drive, it is okay off-road actually, it's not too bad, and even on the street it's actually a pretty fast vehicle. For it being just a stock vehicle that you can steal off of the street and upgrade, I think that the Gresly is actually a very good one, and I would definitely recommend looking into it if you guys are looking for a nice looking, slightly customizable SUV that you can get for absolutely no cost. At number 8, we have the Ubermacht Oracle. Now the Ubermacht Oracle I think is one of the best looking cars that you can get off the street in online, and despite it not having much customization at all, if any, you can actually make it into a decent looking vehicle, whether you want to completely black it out with some nice rims, or you want to go for something a little more adventurous like what I've gone for here. You can make the Ubermacht Oracle look like a pretty decent car. Of course it is a 4-seater, so you and 3 friends can be driving around in this vehicle. It's decently fast as well, and it can kinda drift. Not very impressively, but it can kinda drift. Overall, the Oracle is definitely a very classy looking car, and if that's what you're looking for, this is a great option to steal off the street. If you could still buy it, it would cost you $80,000. So it's actually a little bit more on the expensive side. Not that 80 grand is a lot in GTA anymore, but still, the Oracle is definitely a vehicle that I would recommend picking up. Let's move on to number 7. At number 7, we have one of my favorite handling vehicles that you can steal off of the street. This is the Lampadaddy Felon. Now there is of course the option of the Felon GT, however the reason that I've picked the Lampadaddy Felon is because it is a hardtop and it is a 4-seater, whereas the regular Felon GT is a convertible, but with the top up it looks absolutely horrible. However, with the top down it does look great. But the 4-door Felon has a little bit of customization, which is actually another reason that I picked it for this list. I think that it looks really, really good, and the Felon is one of my favorite handling cars that you can get in all of GTA Online. And I don't mean just off the street, I mean that this is one of my favorite handling cars ever in GTA. It's just so planted and it feels so good to drive. You can go around any corner pretty fast in a Felon, and it's going to do pretty well. This thing does have a spoiler upgrade, which is nice to make the handling even that little bit better, so that is pretty nice to see. Overall, I think it's a good looking car. It kind of shares the front end of the True Fate Adder a little bit, which I think is kind of funny, but overall, very good car. Definitely one that I would recommend looking into for sure. Here at number 6, we have the Ocelot F620. I think everybody's probably seen an Ocelot F620. It is kind of regarded as one of the best cars that you can get off of the street in GTA. I know a lot of people started out their GTA careers with the Ocelot F620. It is decently fast. It's not the greatest looking car. Like, it has aspects that look good, but then some other aspects don't look so good. Overall, it is a decent car though, and it is definitely one that I would look into. Unfortunately, there's like no customization for it whatsoever, but at the same time, it's not the most horrible looking car, so you don't really need a lot of customization. Just rims and some tint and stuff will do you justice with the Ocelot F620. It's got good performance though. This thing is fast in a straight line. Unfortunately, it does have some pretty horrible understeer, but what can you do, I guess. That's it for number 6. Let's move on to number 5. At number 5, we have the Vapid Dominator. You knew it was going to make an appearance on this list. I think everybody expected that. The Vapid Dominator is a very impressive muscle car in GTA. Obviously, because it's in the muscle category, it can actually wheelie if you hold the handbrake and then release the handbrake and start driving off, which is pretty cool. But the Vapid Dominator has some pretty great performance, and I'm not even joking, because this thing's top speed is very, very high. I think it tops out at like 126, which is the same as the Adder, which is kind of nuts to think about. Obviously, the Dominator is going to have a lot worse handling than many of the cars on this list, and many of the cars that it could potentially compete with, like the Adder, for example. It's got some good customization though, and it has some pretty decent straight line performance. At least the handling isn't that bad. It's not as bad as I remember for some reason, but it's still far from good, I would say. But the Vapid Dominator is definitely a car that I would look into. I mean, it's one of the best free cars you can get in the entire game for sure. So definitely check into the Vapid Dominator if that is something that you would be interested in. Here at number 4, we have the Ubermacht Sentinel XS. The Ubermacht Sentinel XS is one of the more customizable cars that you can get off of the street in GTA. You can actually find heavily modified versions of this thing at Los Santos Customs and driving around the Vinewood Hills area at certain times of day, which is pretty interesting. I really like the Sentinel XS. It's based off of an E92 BMW. It could be a 335i, could be a 328i, could be an M3, except kind of not because it's a little too slow, but it is a pretty cool car and it's got some good customization that can be done to it. Overall, definitely a vehicle that I would look into. The performance backs up the looks. It could be a little faster, but you know, for getting it off the street for free, you know, definitely not a bad vehicle. I would 100% recommend trying to get one of these, and if you can get a heavily modified one to begin with, you can save some more money when you're looking for a good car. So there you go. At number 3, we have the Karen Sultan. Of course, the Karen Sultan is going to make an appearance on this list. I think everybody knew that. The Karen Sultan, of course, you can further upgrade this thing into the Karen Sultan RS from Benny's. But even the regular Karen Sultan is a very fast car to begin with. It is super fast. It's all-wheel drive, has great handling, great acceleration, great off-the-line speed as well. Top speed is pretty high. It's actually got a decent amount of customization as well, and overall it's just a very good car. It is regarded as one of the best cars that you can get for free off of the street in all of GTA Online. I remember years ago when the game first came out, everybody was hunting for Sultans because everyone was just blown away by the performance of this thing, and I can't blame them because still to this day it does have some very good performance, and it is a very impressive car generally, especially for a car that you can still buy off of Benny's, by the way, for $12,000. So you can either get it off of Benny's or you can get it off the street. I'd recommend the street just because it's a little more fun, but regardless, if you want a Sultan, you can go and get one. Let's go ahead and talk about number 2. At number 2, we have the Benefactor Schwarzer. Now, the Benefactor Schwarzer actually got some additional customization added to it last summer with the release of the Criminal Enterprises DLC, allowing you to make your Benefactor Schwarzer look a lot more like a C63 AMG, which I think is very cool because that is one of my favorite cars. The Benefactor Schwarzer always did have a decent amount of customization. However, now there are so many different things that you can do to this car to make it look so much better than it ever did before. Now it truly looks like a Mercedes C63. It was always kind of like, oh, that's almost a C63, but now it's like undeniable with some of the customization that you can put on this thing. Now it's like, yeah, that's a C63 for sure, 100%. So the Benefactor Schwarzer, I mean, it's an impressive car. It always was pretty fast top speed wise. The handling has always been like okay, at least, you know, it could be a little bit better, but it definitely could be worse. The acceleration off the line is pathetic, but once you get going, it is pretty good as well. Overall, the Benefactor Schwarzer is definitely the second best car that you can get off of the street right now. I would say 100% because it is just so damn good. I swear to God, this thing, guys, you got to pick up a Schwarzer if you can, please. Such a good car, such a good car. But of course, that's it for number 2. It's time to move on to number 1. And of course, how could it not be the Canis Seminole at number 1? The Canis Seminole, I think everyone knows by now, by the Reddit posts asking and, you know, questioning the Canis Seminole and if it really is that good, and if it really is faster than a Benefactor Krieger, if it really is the best car in all of GTA Online. Yes, It absolutely is. The Canna Seminole is undeniable. The track record of this vehicle is just unbelievable. One of the best looking cars in the entire game. It's worth 30 grand when you could purchase it off the websites, but of course it has been removed, which was one of the biggest war crimes that Rockstar's ever committed against us. Still, alas, you can steal a Canna Seminole off the street, although previously I've said it is absolutely outlawed to steal a Canna Seminole from another Canna Seminole owner. I think now, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures, and you got to do what you got to do to get the prize, which is of course the Canna Seminole. By far the best free car in the entire game. Just an off-road beast. It'll climb the back of Mount Chiliad like it's nothing. Easy mode, really. The Canna Seminole, it's just too good. Realistically, it's just too good. And Rockstar seriously needs to consider patching this vehicle, because at this point it's not really fair for any other vehicle they add into the game to compete with the Canna Seminole. I mean, it's the most armored vehicle in the game, fastest vehicle in the game, best off-roader, best looking. Like, what category does the Seminole lose in? None of them. So there you have it, guys. That is it for the 10 best free cars that you can get off of the street in Grand Theft Auto Online. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, leave a like, if not dislike. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Comment down below if you want me to make a second part to this video, going over some more free cars, or if you thought my list was 100% correct. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care. Hey, ace.